And now I'd like to introduce you to Lisa Ritchie, one of the top etiquette consultants in the country. Lisa will talk to us a bit about dining etiquette so that we can conduct ourselves in a professional manner when we're sitting at a meal. Lisa Ritchie.
Hello, I'm Lisa Taylor Ritchie, and I am the founder and president of the American Academy of Etiquette. We teach children and adults from all walks of life social skills. Today we're going to focus on dining, which is a very important aspect as you move into your adult life and into your careers. We're going to discuss all aspects of a casual setting as well as a formal setting in dining. Today you can see that we have a formal setting here in front of us. We have the bread plate with the butter knife and the bread, a salad fork, a dinner fork, of course our dinner plate, a napkin, dinner knife, and a spoon. At the top of the table setting, we have a dessert setting, which is the fork for cake and a spoon for ice cream. You will also see here that I have a butter plate with butter, salt and pepper shaker, a bread basket, wine glass, water glass, and in different situations, you will either have a coffee cup and saucer set at your table setting from the beginning. Oftentimes in more formal settings, the coffee cup will be served with dessert. For starters, I'm going to demonstrate the beginning of the meal. And at the very beginning of the meal, as you sit down, the first thing that you do is you take the napkin and you put it in your lap. The napkin is all taken away from the table. It's unfolded underneath the table, and the napkin goes in your lap. And I'm going to stand up so you can see the fold of the napkin goes toward my waist. And the reason being is you take the corner of the napkin and use it to wipe your mouth. And then it goes back underneath the table. That is great napkin etiquette. Now, I often get this question, and I'm at business functions all the time, and it never fails. If I'm sitting at a table of 8 or 11 people, it never fails. Someone always eats from the wrong bread plate or uses the wrong wine glass or water glass. So the absolute easiest way for you to remember where your bread plate's located is BMW, and we all know about a BMW. And the way that translates, you have your bread, your meal, and your water. Again, that's BMW, bread, meal, water. I promise you'll never forget it. So the correct way to eat bread, and again, we're going to visualize that we are at a table of maybe, let's say, 5 to 6 people. So this may be passed. So as I pass the butter, I take a small amount of butter with my butter knife, and I place it on my bread and butter plate with the knife, the butter knife, at the top of the plate. I continue to pass this on around the table. Now here's another common dining mistake. A lot of times people will slice their bread and butter the whole piece of bread, and actually it's one bite-sized piece at a time. So I'm going to demonstrate for you. You tear off one bite-sized piece of bread at a time, and you butter that piece over the bread plate, and you take a small amount of butter using your butter knife, and see how this is shaped somewhat. It's actually much smaller than, let's say, and I'll show you here, a dinner knife. If this is all that you're given in your social situation, this is perfectly fine and it will do. But often you will see a butter knife at your place setting. So you take a small amount of the butter, you place it on a small bite, and you take the bread one bite-sized piece at a time. And that is the correct way to eat bread and butter. I'm going to demonstrate American and continental style dining. And believe it or not, one of the most common mistakes that I see, one of the most common dining mistakes that I see is the way individuals hold their fork and knife. And I want to clear up the difference between American and continental style dining. Many believe that it is absolutely correct to combine the two methods, and it really isn't. So first I'm going to go over American-style dining, and this is actually still the most popular way that we as Americans eat. The easiest way to remember how to hold your fork or to cut your food correctly is, and this is very elementary, but it absolutely works. If you hold out your palms, you can balance your fork and your knife on your index fingers. And this will make sure that you are in the absolute correct cutting position. So you see it's balanced on my index fingers, you turn it over, and you're absolutely ready for a perfect cutting position. And here we have a nice chicken breast, so I'm going to cut into the chicken. The knife goes at the top of the plate, the blade faces in toward me, I switch hands. Now I'm demonstrating for a right-handed person today. So I switch hands, my left hand goes into my lap, and you can see that I'm holding my dinner fork like a pencil. And that is the easiest way to remember how to hold your fork. Now I'm going to show you some incorrect ways to hold your fork and things that I see as I teach. A lot of times I see this. This is absolutely incorrect. So make sure that you're holding your fork like a pencil. And therefore, you're ready to take a bite. I'm going to show you now the resting position for American style. And the way you put your utensils when you're resting, let's say you need to take a drink or you need to use your napkin. The resting position in American style dining is actually, again, the knife is at the top of the plate, the blade faces me, your left hand is in your lap. Remember, I'm demonstrating for a right-handed person. So your knife is at the top of the plate, blade facing in. This is another common mistake. I often see it here, but it does face you. The blade faces you. And then the fork is placed below the knife with the handle on the right-hand side. And like I said, this gives you an opportunity to take a sip of your water or to say take a sip or to use your wine glass. Now you may also use this as an opportunity to use your napkin. And again, you take the napkin from your lap and just wipe your mouth as necessary. The other style of eating is called continental or European style of dining, and it's very important that you know this as well. Let's say, for example, you are invited to an international luncheon, or you may have some opportunity to do business in another country. So it's very important that you recognize continental style dining, and I encourage you to try it. It's a very elegant, quiet way and a very sophisticated way to eat. Again, you start in this position. It's a little elementary, but at least you know you're cutting correctly. You balance, if you're right-handed, you balance your fork in your left hand on your index finger. You take your knife and balance it on your index finger on the right hand. You turn them over and you cut your piece of meat or vegetable. And instead of switching, you actually keep the fork and the knife in your hands. And if you'll notice, my wrist actually rests on the table, and that is absolutely correct and proper when you're eating European style. So you can take your chicken. I'm sorry, I actually lost it. You can take your chicken, and the tines stay down on the fork when you bring the chicken or your vegetable to your mouth. And as you are chewing, you keep your wrist above the table, and you continue to talk and have a great conversation with those that are at your table. Now, the other great thing about European style dining is you can take many flavors onto your fork, and I'm going to show you how to do that. The knife is considered the pusher. So let's say, for example, I would like to take a bite of chicken, and I happen to be a real foodie, and I'm sure we have others out there that enjoy your food. And you also, let's say, want to try a bite of these great roasted potatoes. So you can actually take the roasted potatoes and push it on up to your fork, onto your fork. So you get a great bite of both the chicken and the potato, and you take it into your mouth. And that is a perfect example of European or continental style dining. Now, resting position for continental or European style is actually toward the bottom of the plate, and it is actually crossed. The knife and the fork are crossed.